For the last week, I've stood there every night waiting for it to finish printing whatever it is that's going to help me. I have to wait until the print is 100% finished before the glass box that the print is in will open. The prints always finish at 10 p.m. on the dot, no matter what time they start. It took some getting used to, but now I'm something of a night owl. I suppose I could sleep, but that's not a mistake I plan to make twice. So while I'm waiting for this print to finish, I'll just share some of my story with you. Like I said, it's only been a week. Well, almost a week. 6 nights so far, and the printer doesn't seem to be running out of filament anytime soon. No, it doesn't seem to operate by natural laws. If it did, I wouldn't be in this mess. I picked up the printer from a guy on Marketplace. We met in a parking lot, and at the time I just thought he was a regular old guy. He looked a little tired, but now I know exactly why he looked so exhausted. He said he only had the printer a month, and quote, 3D printing isn't what I thought it was. Now what's worse is I paid $200 for it. I literally paid to be in this position. And I don't know how he managed to sell it because when I try to, wherever I post it just deletes itself. The printer isn't anything fancy. It's a single nozzle model with a tempered glass box that the item prints inside of. It came with one spool of filament, which is the material 3D printers use. This spool is charcoal gray and it has a gritty texture to it. I had intended to use different colors, but like I said, this spool never runs out. The first night I got it, I used the touchscreen to print a preloaded little boat called a benchy. Now it came out great. I was so excited by it that I knew I was hooked immediately. I had plans, real plans. I was going to print a bunch of stuff and do local events. I was going to print on demand for customers. I was going to make it a side hustle and have it pay for itself in no time. The only hustle I do now is when I'm running for my life. This damn thing is cursed, or haunted or something, because now it only prints what I need to survive. That first night after the benchy, it started printing another item right after. I hit the touchscreen to see what it was printing, but it was only showing me a question mark. I thought I got scammed and it was a dud printer. Some kind of one and done joke to con people out of $200. I didn't know what to expect, so I let it print for the remaining 30 minutes. And at 10 o'clock when it finished, I picked up a small silver key. It didn't print anything else that night. I didn't know what I was supposed to do, so I went to the living room, sat down on my couch and looked at the little key, curious as to why this was printed and how a silver key came out of charcoal gray filament. Shortly afterwards, I went to sleep and forgot the key was in my pajamas pocket. I figured I would deal with the printer tomorrow, but the first night was not gentle. The printer did not ease me into our new game. I woke up to the sound of glass breaking. The first thing I did was reach for my phone to call the police, but when I looked at the screen, it was only showing a question mark. The same one from the printer. I could hear sounds of chaos in the living room. Things being knocked over and broken. Whoever was in my house was tossing the place. I'm not a huge guy, but I'm a decent size. Enough that if I came at someone, they'd either have to run or put up one hell of a fight. So I opened the door and shouted for them to get the hell out of my place. The intruders stopped, only to notice me, and I saw the red in their eyes and blood in their mouths. They grunted and snarled in reaction to seeing me, and they did run, but they ran at me. They lunged and tripped over each other in a mad frenzy to get to me, snarling and snapping their teeth. They dripped with saliva like rabid dogs and moved with such ferocity that I stumbled back, slammed my door closed, and pressed my weight against it. They charged at the door and collided with it, nails scraping at the paint, cutting grooves into the wood. I held the door handle and struggled to keep it closed. They were insane. They were sick or something because they tore at the door and snatched at the handle. It took every ounce of my strength to keep that door handle from turning. Somehow, it occurred to me that I needed to lock the door, but when I went to twist the lock, it was a keyhole instead. A small silver keyhole for a small silver key. Luckily, I had kept the key in my pocket, so I was able to lock the door. I still held the handle all night, and I still kept myself against the door while they tried their best to get inside. The noises stopped at dawn. I waited a couple hours, and when I finally opened my bedroom door, I expected to see wooden splinters everywhere. But the door was perfect. The living room was perfect, nothing broken, no trace of what had been happening all night. My phone had some missed texts, but it was working normally again. I went to the cops, but I had no proof, I had no pictures, I had nothing. Even the silver key had disappeared. I went home to the printer, but it wouldn't do anything. It wouldn't get out of standby mode. I unplugged it, wrapped the cord around it, then threw it in the trash outside because I didn't know what else to do with it. When I came back inside, it was back in my office like nothing had happened. The next night, it printed orange earplugs, and again the print ended at 10. I sat there staring at the printer, terrified of what the hell it was trying to tell me. I still wasn't sure what the printer was doing. I didn't understand it, so I kept the earplugs in my pocket and waited for anything unusual to happen. Later on, I was in the kitchen, heart racing with anxiety and anticipation. I was standing at the counter making a sandwich that I was too nervous to eat, but I knew I needed something in my stomach. When all of a sudden I heard my bedroom door open. I froze in fear, heart pounding, pulse racing. Then I heard the humming, a soft, gentle, almost soothing hum getting closer with each audible step down the hall. The sound was soothing, but it was wrong. It was unnatural. I fumbled with the earplugs and finally got them in my ears, just as the figure walked silently by the doorway and into view. She had pale white skin and long black hair that hung loosely in front of her. She walked with one deliberate step at a time while her body was hunched forward in an awkward lean. Her skin was clinging to the bones of her emaciated body, and whatever white cloth that had remained on her was filthy, ragged, and torn. I gasped in fear and stepped back. Her head snapped to me. She looked at me with pale, lifeless eyes, and in a blink, she was on me. Before I knew it, I was on my back with my hands pinned at my sides, her black hair draped across my face, and her jaw unhinged, unnaturally wide so that she could scream. I screamed back in fear. I panicked and I cried, and I couldn't hear any of it. The earplugs were a perfect fit. She howled in my face. Her breath smelled of rot and decay, but for me, the world was silent. It was as if I had been born deaf. I lay there helplessly as she overpowered me with ease. I tried to break free, but she was like a vice, holding me down. So I just laid there, terrified, while imagining what hearing the scream could do to me. At dawn, she simply vanished. A poof of gray dust that had disappeared into the air. I was so relieved that I cried. On the kitchen tile, I curled up and cried until I fell asleep. When I woke up, it was noon, and I was still so tired. I decided to leave my house and not come back because all of this started with the printer, and if I couldn't toss it, I'd just leave it there, and everything else, I would leave it all behind. So I packed a bag, got my personal things, and left. I went to a hotel, not some sketchy one either, this was a comfortable one. I figured I could use the added security of my room being in a building and cameras everywhere. I checked in and ordered food because I was still starving. My daily routine had really taken a hit. I kept it simple with a large pizza and a big bottle of Coke. Then I waited for something to happen. I sat on the edge of my bed and kept searching online for any kind of help. But do you know what happens if you Google "random monsters keep attacking me"? I'll tell you, it's just video game help. But the internet did help me a little. I found out that the things that broke into my house that first night were either ghouls or zombies, and that screaming woman was most likely a banshee. I was so terrified and lost that this insanity made perfect sense to me. After all, I saw those things in real life. So yeah, I guess they do exist. A knock at the door scared me so much I actually dropped my phone and felt my body tense up. With a shaky, pathetic voice, I asked, "Who's there?" I don't know what I expected really, but it wasn't the voice of some guy. Maintenance? Just need to check the air conditioning unit. I sighed with relief and relaxed. Of course it was the maintenance. This was a hotel. This wasn't my house of horrors. I picked my phone up off the ground and went to the door. Checked the peephole just to be sure, and there he was. A maintenance guy with a toolbox and everything. I laughed a little and opened the door. "Hey," I said to him, thankful that it wasn't some crazy creature or something horrifying. He looked at me and looked concerned. Then he asked if everything was all right. I nodded and said, "Yeah, I'm fine." And he seemed to believe me because he smiled back and said, "Well, good. I just need to come in and check your bathroom for a possible leak. Can I come in?" By reflex, I almost stepped aside. I almost said, "Sure, come on in," but I twitched. I hesitated. Hadn't he just said the air conditioner a moment ago? I felt goosebumps on my arms, and I looked at him a bit more. He was so normal. He was just some guy, and I'm sure he misspoke or I misheard, but for a minute, I just looked at him. Finally, I said, "Yeah, I called about the internet earlier." A blatant lie. The internet worked fine. He nodded, took his hat off, and pushed his hair back, which gave the appearance of a totally normal reaction. "Yeah, we've had some calls. Sorry to come by so late. Mind if I come in and fix it? I brought all the tools. It shouldn't take long." None of this was adding up. It was too many different reasons for this guy to be here. I realized then that it was late, and I had been holding onto my phone the entire time, so I looked down at it to see the question mark on the screen. It was happening again. I slowly looked up at the maintenance guy, and he looked up from my phone too. "I can fix that. Can I come in and take a look?" "No," I said back. He made a face like he was disrespected or surprised. "Come on, man. I just need to come in real quick, look at some things, then I'm off for the night. I got other things to do. I don't want to waste all night standing here, so just let me in, will ya? 5 minutes and I'll be gone. Can I come in?" His answers weren't good enough. I didn't say anything back. I just closed the door in his face. It clicked shut and he immediately knocked on it. "I just need to do this, all right? I'll be quick, I promise. Just let me in. Can I come in real quick?" I didn't say anything back, so he knocked harder. "Open the door and let me in." His voice had gotten stern and forceful, but when I didn't say anything else, he actually just gave up and left. I didn't get any sleep that night either, because in total, 6 different people came to my door asking if they could come in, and their appearance ranged from the maintenance guy to a cop to a hotel room service, even a woman begging for help, all while I sat on the edge of my bed wondering why this was happening to me. At dawn, the knocking at the door stopped, and I was so exhausted that I fell asleep, fully clothed on the bed, until the front desk called to remind me to check out. When I arrived back home, the house was just as I had left it, and whatever the printer had created to help me was gone. I felt so defeated by everything that I made myself eat whatever I had at home, took a shower, then went to bed at about 1 p.m. When I woke up, the house was dark. I looked over to my alarm clock and saw that it was 10:30, which made me leap out of bed and run to the next room where the printer was in my office. I hit the light switch, but nothing happened. I went back to my bedroom and flicked that switch, which also did nothing. The house was entirely dark. I hoped to at least use the flashlight on my phone, but the only thing it was good for was showing me that damn question mark. And even the phone screen was so dim I could barely use it as a light source. But I took it anyways and went back to the printer. I opened the print bay door and held the item as close to the dim phone screen as I could to see what it had printed. I couldn't see it well, but I could feel it. It was just a light bulb. A single light bulb. Without really thinking about it, I pulled my office chair to the center of the room, stood on it, and began to unscrew the light bulb. A sickening squelch sound came from somewhere in the house, a wet, dragging sound that I couldn't even imagine what it would be. I paused just long enough to listen, and the sound, of course, was coming closer, one wet slide at a time. I sped up and started twisting the bulb wildly so that it squeaked and rattled. The sound dragged closer as my heart pounded in my chest. The sound was just a few feet down the hall. I could now hear strained breathing along with the wet slop. Fear-induced sweat dripped off my forehead, and finally the bulb twisted free. I tossed it to the side and reached up to insert the printed bulb in the light socket, but just as my hand came up, in the darkness my hand bumped the socket, and the bulb fell. I swear to God it fell in slow motion as I tried to catch it, but the room was too dark, the chair too wobbly, and the feeling and dread was too much. The bulb fell, and when I expected the sound of glass breaking, I instead sighed relief when I only heard a soft thump as the 3D printed light bulb landed on the carpet of my office. Instinctively, I knelt and made to step down from the chair, but thankfully I stopped. I froze with my foot mere inches from the ground. The impact might not have broken it, but stepping on it absolutely would. The monster outside, whatever it was, inhaled and exhaled in short, raspy breaths, and the smell of wet mildew poured into the room. It was close. I knelt in the chair and blindly felt around for the light bulb, praying that it didn't roll away. The wet creature was even closer now. I could almost feel its soaking, bloated fingers closing in on me. "Below," it moaned. I was too busy reaching around me to scream, but I wanted to. Finally, by the grace of God, my fingertips touched something and my hand closed around it. I stood up so fast that I thought the chair was going to roll out from under me. I reached up with my left hand and felt for the empty socket, then brought the bulb up with my right hand. Suddenly, I felt a tugging and a pulling at my legs. The creature was in the room right underneath me. It groaned again. I started begging, pleading, praying with a constant, desperate repetition of the word no. My right hand twisted the bulb into place. The squeaks cut through the silence between the moans. I could feel it tugging at my clothes, reaching for the flesh underneath, so easily it could yank me from the office chair. I twisted and twisted. Finally, the light flickered. The creature gasped, and I twisted one last time to light up the room. I jerked away from the hands and fell out of the chair onto the ground. I saw the creature, a soaking wet man with wet ivy and mud trailing behind him as he scurried out of the room and away from the light. Then, I did scream. I screamed like a maniac, like an insane person. I screamed because it had nearly gotten me. I screamed because I was alive, and I screamed because just outside the door, with his face half hidden in darkness, the soaking wet man was staring at me with lifeless white eyes and a wide smile. I cowered against the wall all night, avoiding looking into the face of that man. Every so often, he would whisper things to me.
"I'm taking you below the water. You're gonna drown like me."
At dawn, the light in the room went out as the light bulb disappeared. The smiling drowned man was gone, and I was alone in my house. Nothing has gotten easier. The nights don't get any less dangerous, and I can't prepare in any way because I never know what's going to be printed until it's done. This is all I'm able to share with you right now, because it's almost 10, and the print will be done any minute, but I can barely see it through the glass. What I can see looks like a hacksaw. What the hell am I supposed to do with that? Hey folks, Gloom here. I hope you enjoyed this story. Before anything else, I want to extend a thank you to the copyright-free music offered by some amazing artists here on YouTube, such as Mew, Kevin McLeod, I don't know, CJ Beards, and Tim Beek. I'll leave a link to their channels below because without them, I couldn't set the scenes properly. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I really hope you do soon because gloomy, spooky season is only a few months away, and I intend to crush it. Now before you go, hit the thumbs up and leave me a comment below and tell me what to write my next story about. Give it your best shot, because I love a good challenge.